We've got a returning guest. Lawrence Toomajan is back to tell more stories about Scientology when he was a teenager and a young man in New York City. And we're going to talk about that. But then we're also going to talk about what happened after he left Scientology in Clearwater, and then what happened, how he found out things on the internet back in the late 90s and early 2000s and became a critic of Scientology. I think you're going to find his story very interesting, including what Scientology did to him. Stay tuned. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our channel, Scientology Peeling the Onion. Mark Fisher here with Janice Gillum-Grady. Hello, Janice.
G'day. Hello, Mark.
How you
G'day.
doing? How you doing?
Doing good. Yep. I have from friends visiting, and we've been having a good time. And yeah, it's just been
big birthday though, too, right?
Yes, Elizabeth, my granddaughter, turned 5. So yeah, we had a birthday party for her, and she got some Elsa nightie that she had to go off to dance today. And she comes back, immediately goes and changes into her Elsa nightie that I gave her because she loves it so much. Elsa is from Frozen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we had an Elsa tablecloth and plates, and Elsa and Anna. Anna's her sister. And we had all this Elsa Frozen stuff for decorating for the birthday party. And then she got nails, fake nails that had Elsa and Anna and Frozen characters on them. And she was a happy little camper.
I'll bet. That's great. Great.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
We've got a returning guest that very popular. We interviewed him a few weeks ago, and his first episode was very popular, and he's back to tell more stories. Janice, why don't you go ahead and tell who I'm talking about and introduce him.
We have Lawrence Toomajan. I don't know if I said it right or not, but Lawrence will tell us.
Okay, well, without further ado, we'll bring Lawrence Toomajan back in here. Hey, Lawrence, how you doing?
Hey, no complaints.
Yeah, did Janice do a good job that time?
Yes, she did.
Good. Glad to hear it. So how are you doing?
Well, I can't complain. Complain. You know, it stays in my mind the way you pronounce my name, and I try to pronounce it the way that you do. I have a habit. When somebody sets an example like that, I think, I'm going to do that. So whenever I used to just say Toomajan, but now when people ask me, I say Toomajan, and they seem, I don't know if they listen better. So let's Scientology again, huh?
Yep. Well, good luck with your new name. Yeah, let's pick up where we were at before. We talked about your experience at the Howie mission, and that was in New York. And where was it located?
This was on the corner of, if you're familiar with New York, not quite all the way downtown, sort of in the center of town. That's the building, yeah, right there. And the entire mission occupied the whole second floor. And I worked in the corner over there at the intersection. That was my office right there. And all the staff were clear. All the staff were OTs, except for me. But there was never any business there. You know, Mr. and Mr.
Lawrence, remind everybody whose mission it was and you know, what was the name of it?
It was called the 6th Avenue mission. It was originally called the 5th Avenue mission because I believe I heard from a Pat LaFan that was working there that it used to be on 5th Avenue, and the rowers managed to get this whole second floor of this building, and they put the mission there. And I wasn't originally, you know, commissioned by them to be staff. I was working at the org, and I was staff there. And the executive director transferred me down to the mission. You know, he just called me into his office, and I would like you to go work downtown at the mission here. So I thought, okay, I've never been there before. So I did. I met the rowers and I worked in the corner. I basically just did clerical work. Sometimes I handed out flyers on the street, which I really couldn't stand doing because the people didn't want them. They didn't want to be bothered. They were busy with their lives. Howard and Mary Rower owned that mission. These two people, yes. And
Right.
that's what they looked like when I met them. And I don't remember them any other way. I saw Mary on 6th Avenue. I was in New York. I generally don't go to New York very much anymore. But I was there about 18 years ago and I saw her on 6th Avenue. And then the next news I heard about her is she had passed away. And Howard I was exchanging letters with, even after he was declared. I found out he was declared after exchanging letters with him. I had no idea. And he invited me to his office on Hudson Street. He had a real estate office there with other OTs worked there. And I thought that was really nice of him, because he had very big problems at the mission with the RTC when the David Miscavige took over. Howard
Right.
he got into really big trouble because you see, uh, first of all, the mission never made any business. There was never any customers, and I mean literally. I was there for months. I saw one person came in, a guy, and they asked me to please do TRs with him. So I did, and they congratulated me, the Gwen North. Oh, Larry, that guy was beaming when you left. That's really great. But the mission never made any money, so Howard just paid them out of his pocket just to keep them together as a group. And I think this is what originally pissed the RTC off, is because he wasn't really having a mission. He wasn't really promoting Dianetics and Scientology. He was just trying to keep these OTs, afloat there.
Right.
So I was working there, and what happened? I was just working in the office. The place wasn't making any money. The Bornsteins, that a lot of people know of, they used to come by, and I was working there for a while, and then,
Right.
and then eventually we all had to go to Washington D.C. There was this, well, other things in the background that kind of slipped my mind. There was this auditor. She seemed like a really nice girl. She seemed like a uptown, Upper East Side type of woman, well dressed, Mark, like really beautiful hair. And she would come in well dressed. Her name was Kathy Boyle. And at the time, she was a really highly classed New York auditor. And she just used to come by the mission and she'd come to whoever she would talk to. She really wouldn't talk to me, but she was Howard's mistress. And his wife, she knew that Howard was having this affair. And so did the rest of the staff, because I was in a cafe in Greenwich Village a few years after I left the mission. And Ann Zanis, who used to work at the mission, was sitting in front of me and she was talking to this girl and they were discussing it. And apparently this went on for years, that Howard was having an affair with Kathy Boyle. Kathy eventually went to work at a mission in New Jersey, the mission of Teaneck, New Jersey, that eventually shut down. The RTC, the finance police, closed it down. But I keep forgetting what I'm trying to say. So he was having an affair with this person, and everyone at the mission was like keeping it a secret. Like
Right.
don't tell anybody. Like, Larry, don't make waves. So eventually, which was a bad thing, Janice, Mark, because I was trying to go up the bridge there, right? I really didn't want to discuss Howard's adulterous relationship with him, or that, it was just like a hideout for OTs who didn't know how else they were going to make money. So eventually Mary went to Flag and she got the happiness rundown. And I guess when you're at Flag and you have a flag auditor, I guess you either spill the beans or you don't leave the room. So she told her auditor that, well, by the way, Howard and I are running this mission, and he happens to be having an affair with the auditor who comes there. So right
Well,
now,
it probably did come up in the happiness rundown because it was based off the Way to Happiness
Yeah.
booklet, which I think one of the precepts was be faithful or something to your wife. You know what I mean? Something like, a relationship. So it probably came up there.
well,
Yeah, it would have.
the way I see it is that if Mary didn't mind Howard having an affair with this girl, then why didn't she just separate from him instead
Right.
of encouraging me to think, like whatever. So right after she did that, the mission moved from where you saw it on 6th Avenue and
Right.
it moved to number 1 Hudson Street, which is the first building on Hudson Street. And while it was there, Howard was calm-aved, and then he was thrown out of the church, and the mission was shut down. He and I exchanged letters afterwards. I was friends with Howard. I mean, I didn't even know he was declared until I heard about it. He told me that he no longer had the mission, and that he was like, just working in his real estate business. And I don't know what became of Mary, because my understanding is that if I'm married to a Scientologist and I'm declared, she can no longer be married to me. But you see a picture there of the two of them having dinner. So I really don't know. I didn't keep tabs on Mary to see what she did, but I saw her, like I said, I was walking down the street, and then I saw her on the street. We just passed each other. We didn't speak, right around where her house is, because they lived on McDougal Street. I think her son lives there now. They have a son. I think he lives there now. But the rowers, they were very big with the Guardian's office. I don't know how they got so chummy with the GO, because I wasn't there that long. There was a big event at one of Howard's lofts where I told you, the 157 Hudson Street, that's where his office used to be. He owned that building, and
Right.
there was a loft there. And he had a big event, a Guardian's office event, because the year before that, there were all these raids on the churches in Los Angeles and Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
One of the people that refused to cooperate with the grand jury, the Reverend Arthur Marin, he was there that night. All the Guardian's office people were there that night, and they were like sort of in defiance. They were raising money for the GO's activities. They were in defiance of the fact that the FBI had raided. Go ahead.
Yeah, that would have been one of those self-defense funds that the GO
Safe
environment. Yeah, and it was to get defense money for the Guardian's office people that were being indicted by the courts after the FBI raid. And so that was so they could raise money to defend themselves. But why Howie Rower would have been close to the Guardian's office was before the Scientology Missions International was set up. There was what was called Mission Office Worldwide. And that was run by the Guardian's office out of Worldwide at St. Hill. And so every mission would send 10% to the Guardian's office. And that is what the Guardian's office lived off of, was the 10% from the mission network. And so, of course, the Guardian's office would have known Howie through the mission office, because I had not met him, but I knew of him because he was talked about as one of the big mission holders. And through my years growing up on the ship, different mission holders would come in and I got to meet them, but I don't remember meeting Howie until we were at Flag Land Base in the late 70s. And someone pointed him out to me because I remember he had long hair down his back. and I was like, really, a mission holder with long hair like that? But apparently you were saying he always had that.
He always had long hair, but Janice, he was not such a big mission holder. He was just very wealthy and could afford.
He had to have deep pockets.
Yeah.
Right. And that's probably how he got mixed in with the big mission holders, is because he had deep pockets. If he was doing real estate in New York, that's probably a good career to have.
But I want to tell you something honestly about Howard. Okay. He really didn't have that much affinity for me until after he got declared. And then he realized when we were exchanging letters that, oh, that's that Larry guy. He said to me, oh, I remember you. And he was like very kind of like remorseful that he had regarded me when I had requested an interview with him and said, you
Right.
know, Howard, like, what am I doing at this mission? Like, how am I going to go up the bridge? He gave me like some kind of dance routine, basically, because he was dating this girl, and his wife was like, you know, oh, Larry, shh, don't say nothing. And I didn't want to, you know, that didn't, because there were some very highly trained people there. The case supervisor was an expanded Dianetics case supervisor. Everybody was clear or was OT. Everybody. So it was an environment that I kind of thought, well, I'm really going to get somewhere here. But, you know, I really did.
Yeah.
I wound up just, you know, very gingerly getting a real job outside in the world, making like real money, and just not going there anymore for the most, you know, understanding reason I could possibly give them why I wanted to leave. That they would think, you know, oh, well, he's right. Maybe he, you know, he should go. So that was the mission. It never made money. And, you know, I never told anybody that. Well, there's never any students here. I just went in, worked,
Yeah.
and that's it. And I still remember those people. I never hear from them. But then I did hear about Mary, and then I did hear that Howard got declared. And then, like I said, after he got declared and the mission was closed, and he no longer had to con me into thinking that he knew why I was there, all of a sudden he was like very friendly, like the normal person I expected him to be when I first went there. I always thought he was a gentleman. He did. He had really long hair, and
Yeah.
he was very involved in like organic foods. But as far as him being a big mission holder in New York is concerned, that's not so. He had a mission on Fifth Avenue. He had money.
Right.
He rented or bought this building. He had more money. He rented or bought this building on Hudson Street. And that's why he gave the impression, oh, he's the big, he was just a mission holder. I was actually a little angry that they didn't help me more than they did. So,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
Were you ever to that mission? Did you ever go there?
No, I never did. I went to the Giltman mission up on that was on the west side of Central Park
West End
or
Avenue.
east.
West End
Yeah.
Avenue. It was
I
uptown.
went and yes, I went there in '73. The first time I came to America, my mom came to New York to meet my sister and I at the airport because we were flying in from the Apollo, and she arranged for us to stay with Frank and Helen Geltman at their mission. And so that's how I got to know them. And then when Frank came to the ship a few times, and he would bring cheesecake for everybody, and everyone knew who Frank was because of the New York cheesecake. But that's how I
Yeah,
got
how
to meet
about-
Helen and go to a mission.
How about Darby Simpson? Was she a mission holder in New York, or what was she?
She had the Celebrity Center in New York, which was a mission. And yeah, I went there a couple of times too, because I remember going there and I met Minot Tapo and several other celebrities that were at New York Celebrity Center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Ed, Lawrence, you wanted to tell a story about what happened to you after you got kicked out of Flag, basically, and asked for your money back. So, you want to go ahead and tell that story?
I want to. If I could just, just elucidate a little more what Janice is talking about this mission. The rowers were very big with the Guardian office. And at the time that they had the Guardian office meeting in the loft, my parents were not actually anti-Scientology at the moment. They were so, oh, look at Larry. He's communicating so well. I've never seen him do that before. My mother and father both went to the Guardian Office event at the Rowers Loft. And we went there, so things were going well. Then a couple of weeks later, when the weather got a little warmer, the Rowers rented 2 buses and made everybody go to Washington, D.C. and march around in front of the FBI building, which was like, if you are in my shoes, to me, this was like a terrifying experience. This is like the FBI. This is not the anti-people camp. This is the real people looking out the window in suits. Yeah.
Right.
I was
right.
there. I was there too. I was like 17, 18 years old, and we actually camped out in a van outside the FBI J. Edgar Hoover building, and we were there to march against the FBI's before I joined the Sea Org. I was a public person at the Washington D.C. org, so I remember that very well.
That would never, ever, ever occur to me. It didn't occur to me in the first place that we should go protest at the FBI headquarters. This was the Rowers' idea. They rented the buses and made everybody pay to go. But I would never say, hey, Mark and Janice, let's go to the FBI building and show them,
Yeah.
I'm sure the Guardian's office had a lot to do with it.
Oh, I'm sure it was not the mission holder's idea, the Guardian's office, because the Guardian's office, that's where all their stuff was exposed of the criminality that they were involved in with the U.S.
The Snow White
government,
program.
the
Yeah.
infiltration into it, and all the different fair games that they were doing on different people, and what they did with Paulette Cooper. And I mean, it was just atrocious, the things that they'd been doing that was now exposed from that FBI raid. And by the way, when that raid happened, I was in La Quinta with Hubbard and Mary Sue. And when the raid happened, the first thing Hubbard did was get his bags packed and hit the road. And he went to Sparks, Nevada with Dee Dee, Claire, and Pat.
Yeah, we have a video on that too, which is
Yeah.
really fun. Yeah, Hubbard on the run. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
I told you last time what the Guardian's office was asking me to do. And it didn't dawn on me at first that it's a bad thing to illegally tape record people and then threaten them with the
Yeah.
code. So that's what, the whole Scientology thing. So that's what you and she are explaining. These are the reasons why I decided it was a bad idea to continue in Scientology. And when I got to Flag, I had it. And I didn't feel mean. I asked for my money back. That's it. I just couldn't have anything to do with it anymore. So I came home to New Jersey, and what started this whole thing? I got a statement in the mail from the American St. Hill organization in California.
Did you say around what year this was, or what time period?
Yeah, this was in 1989. This was in 1990. I got a statement from the American St. Hill organization in California, and on it showed like my e-meter sale, my book sale, and then it also showed that the money that was in my account was no longer there, that it was transferred to Flag, but I wasn't at Flag at the time that this was transferred. So I got the idea. I'm sick and tired of hearing from these people. So I'm just going to call there, tell them, whatever money I have in my account, let's use it, and just don't contact me anymore. There isn't any point. So I called the Airshow Foundation first. And, I spoke to the guy, and he said, I said, my statement says my money was sent to Flag. I said, but I already spoke to Flag, and there's no money that went from Airshow to there. It wasn't even there. So I think he understood what I was telling him. He said, oh, let me credit your account, and let me do that for you. So he credited my account. Ridiculous that he did that. I bought something, and I just very nicely said, please don't contact me anymore. And I called the Flag land base. I tried to do the same thing, and I reached somebody on the phone, the registrar, Kitty Georges, very upset that I had called. and screamed at me and hung up. So, Janice, who wants to talk to somebody like that anyway? For
Yeah.
whatever little money is left that they stole out of the account, they're good riddance. So I figured, let me call the New York org because I'm close by there. So I
Where's
called.
that background noise coming from?
I hear people
It
talking.
might be my guests.
Oh, okay. That's fine. You might want to mute your mic a little bit or whatever.
Okay.
Go ahead, Lawrence.
So I called the New York org and I did the same thing. I said, I'd like, to just how much is in my account. And I reached the same guy, the registrar, the Raymond Biardi, told me I was declared PTS type 3 and told me, go F yourself, and hung up the phone. I actually called the Flagland base. I actually exchanged letters with the International Ethics and Justice Chief, the Jurgen Brock at the time, and he couldn't know who was declaring me what because I wasn't even a member at the time. So much for that, the lies that they were spreading about me. The one thing I want to point out was there was this lady. Her name was Jennifer McDonald Cox, and at the time I was on staff in New York, she was the nanny at the nursery, which wasn't really even a genuine nursery. It's not anywhere you would leave your kid, Janice or Mark. You wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. But she cared for the staff members' children. And this is somebody that I knew less than I know you and Mark. I had seen her once or twice around the org, and one time she was in the communications course room with me doing TRs. That's the extent of our relationship. There was another guy named Bruce Dobin, who's an OT8, he's a class 6, and he is the brother of the person who supervised the first course I did. I saw him one time in the org and another time in the org, and I saw him once at Flag, and another time I saw him, but I didn't recognize him. I didn't know that it was him. So these two people I barely knew. So after I finally told, all these people, please don't bother me anymore, my mother got upset. She said, oh, Larry, she says, shut up about those people. She says, you've been talking about them for 6 months. She was tired of me not being able to do anything about the situation. She was tired of me being frustrated over this Scientology group. So she and I went to a Halloween parade. This is 1993. We went to a Halloween parade in town, and we went to a luncheonette, and we were sitting there. And all of a sudden, this Jennifer McDonald Cox comes in the luncheonette. I thought, that's unusual. Like, what's she doing there? And I hardly remembered her. I didn't go up and say, oh, hi. She came over to our table. She remembered me like as if she had just seen me yesterday. Oh, Larry. And my mother was there. I'm still in Scientology, and my husband is, and my son is, and you haven't been there for a while. We have a store up the street. So I thought that was really nice. Thank you very much. And she left. A couple weeks later, I wanted to see this store that she was talking about. So I went there. So her and a group of Scientologists, OT people, they're all OTs. They're still there right up the street from where I'm talking to you at. They rented this building and they opened some kind of art business. So the first thing I wanted to say is I talked to her a little bit and I bought a picture off of her. And I was really expecting her to give me a receipt that said the name of the store. Instead, she gave me I've lived in Linden for 50 years, so I practically know what color everybody's socks are. And she gave me this invoice from this place that hasn't been in business for like 20 years, 25, 30 years. I thought that was really odd, I bought this picture off for her and the picture broke. It fell off of the wall. I thought, well, I'm going to go back there and talk to Jennifer. Maybe she can fix it. So while I was there, I just told you the problems I had when I called the church and asked about my account. I figured,
Right.
look at how well Jennifer knows me. I says, I'm going to ask her. I says, Jennifer, my picture, this and that. How come that nobody at the church can tell me how much money is at my account? Her exact words is, Larry, I don't want to talk about it. if you mention it one more time, I'm going to ask you to leave, not come back, and I mean it. I thought, why can't she tell me how much money is in my account? What is that, a violation of a policy? Because they had taken the money out. One of the registrars had taken the money and put it in his pocket, and for her to admit that, right.
You know, I've heard rumors and stuff like that, but LRH Hubbard was always big on saying that income always followed delivery. And he heavily would push the value of services delivered because he didn't want income sitting around that was owed, because that was a liability, people having money on account. He wanted it, people audited and that money used. So that liability was no longer there. So then what happened was people got on a big push of books, and they would go through people's files and look for money on account to see if there was money that they could then sell them books. And what would happen is, though a commission might have been paid to the Flagstaff member or the register on the initial payment for delivery, they would then take that money that was left on account and transfer it to books and get another commission paid to whoever changed it over to books. There was like a 10% commission on books.
Yeah, it was 10% on books. So they'd make, if there's $1,000, they'd make $100. Yeah.
Right. So, and I'd heard that they were going through files looking for unused money and they were supposed to call people to say, hey, we want to transfer it and you can buy these books. And that person would then quietly get their commission. But I've also heard they didn't do that. They just automatically transferred it and donated the books to a local library or to somebody else or whatever. And that's probably what happened to your money, is someone switched it over to books, donated the books elsewhere, and took the commission.
So why would they be afraid to tell me that? I mean, why?
Because they had missed withhold. They didn't want to admit what they had done wrong.
Yeah.
They had done it without
your permission.
Yeah.
So you see what I mean? In lieu of that, what's supposed to become of me? Oh, that's Larry. Go ahead and take the money in his account. He'll never know the difference.
Yeah, because he's not around anyway. So let's just take it.
Yeah. If the money had sat there for years and it was maybe $1,000, yeah, he's not around. He's probably disappeared or he could be dead. Let's just switch this over and donate it books to somewhere else.
She, Jennifer McDonald Cox, eventually went to work for OSA, and she became the DSA of New York. And if you look at the anonymous videos from 2008 that happened at the New York org, she's right there in front of the building with her folder, walking around Times Square with those other people. There were other people besides Anonymous. There was this one girl. I used to go to New York a while ago when Anonymous was having protests, and there were other people that weren't dressed with masks on that they would write on the sidewalk like cult, pointing toward the church, and she would go out there and battle them. So Jennifer went to work for OSA long before I knew about it. And about a year after, she had told me, if you mention this one more time, you just get out of here. I was home with my parents and I got a call on the phone. And my father gave it to me. My whole family was there. I got a call on the phone. Oh, Larry, it's for you. And it was the Church of Scientology of New York. It was this Raymond Biardi person who, out of the blue, he's going to call me on the phone. I'd like you to come in today because I want to discuss your account with you. So I didn't know whether to be happy or to be, if he was lying or not. I figured, oh, what the hell. So I went to New York. I went to the org. I actually signed in at the desk. I thought this was a big event. I got there a little early. I went upstairs and I saw him. He was in his office. And he says, I told him, hello. And what about the money in my account? He says, oh, I don't remember this. And he went back to his desk. I think that's really not a good thing, to make me come all the way to New York and then say you don't remember this. All of a sudden, these two people came in the room. This whole thing was staged with the Jennifer from the OSA, with the Raymond. These two guys came into the room, and one of them says to me, nasty. He was somebody I saw years ago around the org, real long hair. He says, I want you to leave. I said, well, I'm going to in a minute. I just was finished. I went all the way to New York to see Raymond. I figured, let me finish talking to this registrar about the money in my account to see what we could do. This guy got very upset. No, I want you to leave right now. He had a folder in his hand. He dropped the folder and grabbed me like you would grab somebody from the front, and he threw me backwards. Have you ever heard of one of those people that their head hits something like really solid? Well, mine hit the corner of the desk behind me. I mean, I'm fortunate I didn't get hurt worse than that. This guy put his knee in my neck and is on top of me, screaming obscenities, telling me, shut your mouth. I'm telling him, like, get off of me. Like, what's he doing? Knocking me over to begin with. He's telling me, shut up, shut your mouth, shut your effing mouth. Raymond, in the meantime, is pacing back and forth in front of the window on the second floor. Then this other guy he was with, there was two of them. The other guy I don't know. This one sat on my legs, literally sat on my legs, and he's laughing. And these two guys are holding me there. I guess against my will, has to be against my will, because I would never say, jump me and put me on the floor and see how I feel about it. So all of a sudden, Raymond motions towards these two people, let them up. So he lets me up, and I didn't know what to do, Janice. I was like, oh my God, I just got jumped at the Church of Scientology. I went down the stairs. There's two police officers right at the door. Somebody called 911 before I even got upstairs. Oh, this guy is here that comes here all the time, and he came in the building and he assaulted someone. The police told me. They said, we just got a report that you came into this building and you assaulted one of the staff. Obviously, I didn't if I signed in at the desk and the lady let me upstairs. So I told the officer, how can that be that story came up? He went inside the church. I remember he told me to stand outside. They told me, you just wait here. So I waited there, and all these people, these women, are surrounding the police officers, all of them talking at the same time, talking to the police. The police came out and told me the church wants you arrested and held for psychiatric observations because, they're terrified of you or something like that. But the police didn't want to do that because obviously that's crazy. Send somebody.
Yeah.
So they sent me to the hospital up the street with my bicycle to have the back of my head checked out.
Because you've been injured, yeah.
Yeah, because I really had, my skin was split on the back of my head. So I went to the hospital. Just forget about the Church of Scientology. Whatever's going there just became history. I mean, absolute history after that day. I wasn't even going to forgive them. It wasn't even in my heart to forgive them.
When was this again? What time period?
This was on a Sunday, February 8th or 9th, 1994. No.
94.
It was February 13th. It was L. Ron Hubbard's birthday. It was a Sunday.
March
13th.
March.
March, I'm sorry. March 3rd was L. Ron Hubbard's birthday was that day. Because I would never go bicycling to New York in the freezing weather. I just, it slipped my mind what day that was. But it was L. Ron Hubbard's birthday, Sunday, March 13th, 1994. So I went to the hospital, and the lady there, she was like, you and Mark, she was very understanding. She was very supportive. She didn't think I did anything wrong. She gave me some Tylenol. She kind of cleaned the wound and told me to stay away from those people. She said, just stay away from the Church of Scientology. They have a very bad reputation. I told her, thank you. After I left, I went to the police headquarters and I filed my first report against the Church of Scientology. That's it. I spoke to these detectives and I told them what happened. They called me about 3 days later. You know, Lawrence, we'd like you to come back to New York, me and another detective. We'd like to meet you at the church, and we'd like to go in there and find this Raymond Biardi guy and the other two people and arrest them. And I was so enthusiastic about those people getting arrested, but then try to look at it from my point of view. This is like almost a 40-mile round trip every day back and forth to New York. My insurance covered the hospital expense, and I had enough brains in my head to know never to go back there, regardless of who calls on the phone and says what. So
Right.
I told the detective, I appreciate, your help, but the travel involved all the time, I rather would just, right now, let it go. He didn't want me to. He said, well, you can come in on a Sunday. He says, if that's better for you. If you don't want to take your time off of work because you want to come in on a Sunday, we can go on a Sunday. I told him I'll let him know. He gave me like 1 year to do that. So I never went because Janice, to tell you the truth, I just didn't even want to be bothered with them. That's their
Right.
stupid overt is doing that to me in the first place. But do you see how they staged this whole thing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Now, so
Well,
so they called you in, and that's why you were there
Yeah,
again. I remember they called you in front of your family, but what was their reason for calling you in again?
I was in the kitchen and the phone rang. And my
No, I
phone,
know that, but I know that, but why did they call? Why did they want you to come in?
oh, because the person on the phone said he was Raymond Biardi. Raymond Biardi is this person that has worked at the Church of Scientology of New York for 50 years. I saw him just like what, 2 years ago when I was there. And he called on the phone. He told me this is who he is. He says he's Raymond Biardi. He said, I'd like you to come in to my office today and see me. I was actually elated because I thought, wow, maybe finally something good is going to come out of this. So he told me to come see him. I think he said 4 o'clock, 4:30. In any event, I got there a little early. But the only
But so that was the only reason they
it
said
was
to come in
no,
was
it's to
because
go
you were
over
there.
his account with him.
to my yeah to
To
he
go over
Okay,
Lawrence's
okay.
account. So that's where, if I was a betting person, I would bet that it was because they had taken the money and put it into books, and they were going to try and cover that up because it was unauthorized by the person whose money it was. And so it was a cover up, and it's a total Scientology technology missed withhold.
couple of years later, in 2002, is when I first started researching, Scientology online.
Mhm. Yeah.
Before, before this, I had called the church, I think in 1998, and I had asked them, are you sure that I have no money on account? Like, can you like double check? I spoke to this treasurer named Lloyd Ketting, another guy, I forget his name, he owns a pizzeria, him and his wife, was Silvestri, something Silvestri, and his wife. I spoke to those two people. They made me wait days, they made me wait weeks. They call me back on the phone, Janice, and they say, we don't have any record of anybody by your name here in the church's records, which is even worse than being beat up because
Yeah.
now they're saying they never even heard of me before. So this was in like 1998 that they told me this. In 2003, I happened to be on the phone with a Sylvia Stannard from the Office of Special Affairs because after I went online and learned all these things that really actually happened to me, which was not what I originally thought that it was, it just became very clear that the only track record this church has with me is they have a criminal one. And I said, why should I not tell anybody about this for? What's the big secret? I wrote the whole thing up and I sent it to I don't want to say who, because legal authorities. And they
Mhm.
wrote back to me. They wrote me back. I heard back from them. And I figured, right, the right thing to do is, does the church know about this? So I sent them a copy of the same exact document I sent to the local people. I went to school with the chief of police here in town. I went to school with the mayor in town. We're not strangers. And so I sent it to the Church of Scientology of New York. And I kid you not, I'm not a harassing type of person. I called there one time only, Mark, and I just wanted to know, did you get my packet of documents in the mail? I wanted you to have this. The person says, just a minute. And then all of a sudden, the three-way conversation, somebody else picks up the phone. And this is in 2003. And the lady introduces herself as Sylvia Stannard from the Office of Special Affairs. She said she knew me. She says, oh, Lawrence from the ARS, the Scientology news
Right.
group.
Is that because you were on the news group posting or learning about stuff and also posting, right?
Long time ago, yeah. And
Yeah.
they were having big, I don't know what was going on. There was a lot of communication going on there. And
So she was OSA was monitoring that group, and that's how she knew who you were.
yeah, they were monitoring the group and they knew who I was. And the church in New York must have been terrified of me because I did an illegal thing. I notified the police that two people jumped me. So I guess you're not supposed to do that. You're just supposed to, oh, well, everybody gets jumped when they go to the Church of Scientology of New York. So she picks up the phone, and whoever answered the phone in New York, I knew they were listening. She wanted to know what I wanted. I told her, I can't find my invoices from the church in New York. I had a fax machine at my house. She faxed me all my invoices from the church in New York. I says, but two of them are missing. What about the payments for the security check? She said these are the only ones that she has. You know what? I believed her. I believed she was trying to do an honest job. I believe she was trying to do a good job. I shouldn't say that because I don't want people to think that I'm a supporter or something, but I honestly believe she was trying to help. She sent me invoices I even forgot about for the book that I bought from Richard Koleric, the bookstore officer at the time. She sent me that one, but she couldn't send me the invoices for the security check that I paid for, that this Jennifer lady and Raymond were very distraught about me learning about. So after that, I realized what happened to that money, that the person I gave it to, the registrar I gave it to, had to have stolen it, because this is the Office of Special Affairs. And if you are in the church and you don't cooperate with them, I don't think it matters what kind of person that you are, Janice. They're just going to escort you out the door like one way or another. So I believed what she said, that she didn't have it. I ended it at that, because then I realized what was really going on there is they were offering me these sec checks that weren't really security checks. They just wanted, honestly, I know I'm going to sound nuts, they wanted to make me crazy. They wanted me to pay them to admit to things that I didn't do. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do that. Why would anybody want to do that for? So the Raymond Biardi guy, as I was paying him, he's just taking the money, he's putting in his pocket, and just ripping the invoices up and destroying them.
But hold on, were you paying in cash? Because he couldn't take it if you.
I paid cash. I paid him 2 times, and after
In
that,
cash.
yeah, cash. I couldn't figure out.
Oh.
Just Larry thinks that he's getting a security check, but little does he know that he's not. And I'm just going to take his money. And he had an ethics officer to help him. She was assuring me, oh, the Guardian's office has told us that all these things you did that you need approval for. Like I told you about that Church of Satan group that I wrote the letter with.
Yeah.
Something stupid like that it doesn't even make sense that if you wrote a letter to someone, that now you're a member of the group, and the guardian's office wants you out of the church unless you do this. So I had to put up with that for a long time, that ridiculous kind of behavior. So that's what
Well,
became.
it sounds like you were labeled by them an SP, a suppressive person, or a potential trouble source. And since you lived there in New York, they probably had your name on a list that if this person calls, you turn it over to whoever's in OSA, and then Sylvia
Right.
Standard to handle it, because you probably, I'm not saying this is right, but I'm just thinking the way that the organization probably was thinking is that you were an interpolative source because of the fight and the this and the that, and so they're like, this guy's crazy, so if he comes, call us up here at OSA and we'll deal with him. You know what I mean? And that's probably what they were doing.
But this is not anything out of the ordinary that anybody wouldn't do. I mean, I didn't call the church that day and say, "Hey, I'd like to come in."
Oh, no, I understand that. I'm just saying, I'm not saying it's right. It's just that's the way they would deal with things like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in any other business or organization, you call and they'll look up your files. They'll give you what you rightfully should belong to. But Scientology, they don't trust this. They all think that first of all, you're posting on alt religion Scientology and you're calling to get money back and all that. They consider you a complete enemy, and that's what they're doing. And I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying that's what they were probably doing.
Well, those people on alt religion Scientology, they were really smart because.
Oh yeah, the people like I was in there. Yeah, I mean there were a lot of people that were in there. Absolutely. This is before you could be anonymous. You know what I mean? They didn't know who you were that was talking.
Just from reading that group, I learned who Paula Cooper was. I had heard that name. I told you before, and I learned who she was. So many things, Janice, just blew away. All these confusions, these misunderstandings. Who I thought that was, why I thought they were doing this. One other person I want to bring up, if we have time, is I have to go back.
Let me. I just want to explain for our viewers who don't know what alt religion Scientology was. Okay, this is before. I mean, this was like a internet, like a group or whatever. It was like not even a group. I mean, it was very rudimentary when it first started, but it was where people could actually post and write their stories and comment about Scientology and the abuses that were going on and tell their stories, but they would do it anonymously. Like Mark Headley would post on there as Blown for Good. And Scientology then was trying to find out who the hell is Blown for Good. Who is this? Because he was telling all these truthful stories. And so it was where people could compare notes and stories. That's where I found out a bunch of stuff. I mean, this is all, the internet was relatively new at the time, and we didn't have Google and Wikipedia and all these search engines to find out things. So this was very, very much in the beginning. And OSA, you know what I mean? They were trying to find out who all these people were that were posting stuff on there and trying to shut them down.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that people understand that.
Yeah.
It's not like the internet is today. It's what it was like in the early 2000s, the late 90s and early 2000s.
Well,
anyway.
The OSA group, or the Ava Packet. Do you remember the Ava Packet lawyer attorneys from the church? There was a woman named Ava Packet who, at the time that when ARS was popular, around the Stacey Brooks, the LMT period, period, there was this attorney named Ava Packet who was monitoring the group with the Helena Cobran. And somebody sent me a link to the Ned Ferrotti's materials. And I had never, my understanding from being in Scientology is, this can't be real, because everybody knows that this is, L. Ron Hubbard says, if you encounter this material, it's like something's going to happen to you.
You're going to get pneumonia, you're going to die.
Yeah. So
exactly.
Somebody sent me a link to the Ned Ferrotti's materials, Andreas Haldell Lund or someone, and I figured, let me see what it.
It's from Operation Clambake.
Yeah, and I was curious if this was real or not. So I was reading it, and I says, wow, that's really, that's interesting that the church wants to keep this confidential from people, rather than share it with them so they can, improve their lives in some way. So I had, at that point in time, Mark, that's a very Neanderthal version of me. As a critic of Scientology, I was a computer geek, and I was just new to the ARS. I took one of the HCLBs and Net for OTs that I was sent. I wasn't sure if it was genuine or not. And I sent it to the OSA. I said, look what I have. I said, I didn't know that this is supposed to be on the internet. I don't care if they know that I told you that or not. And I got an Avagram. I think it was, they used to call it on ARS, an Avagram. Ask Barb. Zenu Barb, she knows. They call it an Avagram. And she said, you cannot have that document, that you destroy that document right now, and you confirm to us that you no longer have it, because that's confidential material. You're not supposed to know that. So I wrote her back, yeah, that's what happened. I got rid of the whole thing. And that's how much I paid attention to that. So yeah, ARS is, I'm one of the way back.
Yeah, it's a news group. That's what it was called. It was called a news group, and that's where it was the downfall of Scientology, because once those OT materials were put out on the internet, they could never be taken down. And my good friend Robert Vaughn Young, he was the one at the time who was blogging and posting stuff, and he said that the internet was going to be the Waterloo for Scientology, because once that dike was broken, there was no way you could put enough fingers into it to stop it. And
and that's what's happening now.
Yeah, Scientology tried to stop it by saying, "Oh, it's copyrighted materials. We're going to take you to court and all that," and that all blew away because they couldn't enforce it.
Arnaldo Lerma, him I miss the most, because he had the most, in my opinion, he had the most dedicated attitude toward the Church of Scientology. I really appreciated him.
Who?
Arnaldo Lerma. Do you remember him?
No.
Arnie Lerma. He was a very
Arnie Lerma. Yeah, Arnie Lerma. Yeah, I remember him.
At first we didn't get along so well because of things other people said about him. I wasn't 100% sure if all the people on ARS, if they were really, on the same page as me. But toward the end, after the ARS closed and Arnie and I became like, I really, really miss him. So anyway, there's another guy I want to bring up, this Bruce Dobin. If we have time, I want to tell you about this guy.
We're getting towards the end. Is it a long story?
I'm not sure. I could start telling it, but then if I can't finish, then you'll have to.
Why don't we save it? Because we're right now almost at an hour, and so let's just save it for another time.
Let's save it for another time, because I really want you to have that story, because that story is incredible, Janice. Okay. The mission of Elizabeth, New Jersey. This you need to know. I mean, you need to, for your own sanity. You need to know who you're dealing with, what they're really involved in, and especially people who have no excuse for not being a Scientologist. If you're an OT8 and you're a class 6, okay, you don't have any case, you don't have anything like that, and you are a trained auditor, can clear just about anybody, there shouldn't be any reason for a person like that to be involved in hostilities like with other people. That person's communication should be really good. So the next time we get a chance, I'll tell you about that one. And that probably would have questions, and that might give you a good idea of what these people put me through, and I no longer feel like that I'm missing out on something in life because I'm not with the Church of Scientology. That's the reason, Mark, why I went back there so many times. Even though they were abusing me like that, they were mistreating me this way. And I told you, they actually jumped me, actually split the back. And I'm thinking, oh, my grade chart, I'm gonna lose my eternity, my bridge, I'm not gonna go clear. I no longer feel that way. I lost, that kind of faded away once I started realizing that the information on the internet clears up the whole thing.
You broke the chain.
It was
Yeah.
terrible. My family was my mother. Like I told you what my mother said. She couldn't take it anymore. She couldn't understand what was frustrating me about
Yeah.
those people,
Okay.
Scientologists.
Well, we'll take it up the next time we do a show, and we'll discuss all of that. I
Sure.
want to thank Lawrence for being here. Please subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, hit the notification button, so that you're alerted every time that we have a new video come out. Also, if you have any questions or comments, please comment down below. Questions for Lawrence, we look at them. I know Lawrence did too, and we take your suggestions seriously. So anyway, any questions or comments, please do that. And then also, if you'd like to support our channel, you can buy us a coffee in the description down below. Click on it, and you can go ahead and do that, and we appreciate any support. Also, you can buy Janice's book. There's links right there. You can get autographed copies of her book, Book 1 and Book 2, Commodore's Messenger. They're really great reads with great photographs, and so that stuff is there for you to order if you'd like. Yes, Lawrence?
And that is amazing that you worked with L. Ron Hubbard directly for so long.
Yeah.
I can't imagine a more professional person, to speak to about this. That's very good that you did that. That's like really.
I started at 12.
Yeah.
When did you leave Scientology?
Yeah.
You left.
I was 34 years old when I left. I say I was barefoot and
1990.
pregnant.
Yeah, 1990.
Oh,
Yeah.
1980, right around the time that, that I was first telling these people, please don't
Yeah.
write me in the mail anymore, because it just
Right.
didn't make sense to send me letters in the mail and then tell me it's none of your business how much money's in your
Yeah.
account.
It wasn't Scientology anymore. The Scientology I grew up with, it was going way off the rails. So that's why I got the hell out of Dodge.
As did I at the same time, and many others.
Yeah.
I just thought when I'm
We
not
saw the writing on the wall because we were right there.
when you two are not here, I miss talking to the two of you because I rarely talk to anybody fluently about Scientology the way I discussed it with you.
Right.
It's outside some people's reality, to bring up a topic like that. So I really appreciate, the communication and, every opportunity I get to talk to you. So we should do this another time. And I
Okay.
tell you the story of Bruce Dobin and the mission of Elizabeth, New Jersey. And I know OSA will watch that. I know they will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do watch our show. We know that. We have
Good.
confirmation.
And
Yeah.
like Tori Christman said, that maybe they might learn something finally.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll wrap it up here. Lawrence, stay on after we end the show so we can talk on the other side. But we want to thank everybody for being here. And until next time, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.